Hello and welcome to Vision Economics Academy. Today we'll be continuing with the chapter number 2, that is Consumers Equilibrium of class 11 Microeconomics. The topic of today's discussion is ordinal utility approach. So this is the second approach through which we try to attain consumer equilibrium. The first was marginal utility analysis, in which we were quantifying the utility derived. Now Hicks and Allen said that it's not possible to define utility or satisfaction in absolute terms. It's a psychological, it's a psychological feeling. Satisfaction and utility is psychological and it's very subjective. So it's very hard to describe or define utility in absolute terms. Therefore, utility is not possible to measure in absolute terms, right? Now, consumer can rather rank various combinations of goods and services in order of preferences. So that seems more realistic rather than giving a number, absolute number, to the utility or satisfaction derived. The consumer can rather rank in order of preferences. For example, whether consumer prefers apple over banana or banana over apple, or it's simply indifferent, kuch bhi chalega, either apple or banana, right? So this seems more realistic in ranking the goods in terms of preferences, right? Now, what is indifference curve? Indifference curve refers to the graphical representation of various combinations of bundle of two goods among which the consumer is indifferent. Okay? So indifferent curves represents various bundle of combination of two goods. So here there is no single case commodity. We can only study indifference curve in terms of two commodities. So the combination of bundle of two goods, right? In that particular indifference curve, at any point of that indifference curve, a consumer is indifferent. That means the consumer is getting equal level of satisfaction in that particular indifference curve, right? Now, if you see the schedule here, so the different combination of two goods are given here, P, Q, R, S, T, right? So at first apple is 1 and banana is 50, right? Now, in order to derive more apple, one has to substitute some unit of banana. So let's say, in our example, to gain one more apple, the consumer is ready to sacrifice or substitute 5 bananas, right? And then subsequently, for one more apple here from 2 to 3, the consumer is willing to substitute 4 bananas. And so on. In the next, to increase one more apple, the consumer is willing to sacrifice only 3 bananas. And then from 4 to 5 apple, the consumer is willing to sacrifice only 2 bananas. Now you may wonder why the consumer is substituting less and less bananas as the apple is increasing, as the number of apple is increasing. That means it's a simple psychology, right? First, when the consumer had very less of apple, for him banana did not have such value, right? So in order to gain one more apple, he was ready to substitute 5 bananas. So as he is gaining more and more apple, his banana is getting less and less, right? So now the consumer will not be willing to substitute the same amount of bananas that he or she was wanting to sacrifice. So that is the reason why the substitution of banana gets less and less. That means it is the working of, again, law of diminishing marginal utility. So it's nothing but the law of diminishing marginal utility in progress. As the apple is increasing, its utility is diminishing, so the consumer is willing to sacrifice or substitute less and less of banana. Now we will draw the indifference curve according to this schedule. Alright? So now we will plot the indifference curve. Okay? So this is the indifference curve, right? So now we will see as to how we plot it. Now P combination, at P combination, there is one apple and 15 bananas at P combination. Okay, there is one apple and 15 bananas. So it is here. Okay, at this point, one apple, 15 bananas. Then at Q combination, there is two apples but 10 bananas, which will come around here. And at R, 3 apples, 6 bananas. And at 4, at combination S, 4 apples and 3 bananas. And at T combination, it's 5 apples and 1 banana. Okay? Right? Now, what do we see here are the different combination of the bundle of two goods. Okay? But giving the same level of satisfaction. So, the consumer is indifferent between any of these combinations. Okay? So the consumer is, because consumer is getting equal level of satisfaction at any point, he or she is indifferent. Okay? So these are the bundle of goods, or the combination of two goods that the consumer is consuming. Okay? Now, what is monotonic preferences? So monotonic preferences is the base of indifference curve, as to say, because a rational consumer would always want to maximize his satisfaction. Alright? A producer would always want to maximize his profit. A consumer would always want to maximize his satisfaction. So, a rational consumer always prefers more of a commodity as it offers him higher level of satisfaction. That's simple logic, right? And there is indifference map. Indifference map is a family of indifference curves. So if there are more than one indifference curve, okay, then that is called indifference map, a set of indifference curve also. Okay, marginal rate of substitution. So it is the rate at which one commodity is substituted to gain some more of another commodity, so that the total satisfaction remains the same. Okay, so marginal rate of substitution AB is, in this case, units of banana willing to sacrifice by units of apple willing to gain. How much of banana you are willing to substitute, right, to get more unit of apple. So simply that is MRS, marginal rate of substitution. So now I have included marginal rate of substitution as well. Okay, is the rate at which we substitute one good to gain more of another good. So we have already covered this up as to why the MRS, diminishes, as because of law of diminishing marginal utility. Because at first the apple has more value, so the consumer was willing to sacrifice more of bananas. As when the apple kept on increasing and the unit of banana became less, the consumer sacrifices less of banana. So this is because of law of diminishing marginal utility. So I have written here why MRS diminishes, but I haven't written the answer. I have just said it out. So those who are interested can write it in the comment section below. Properties of indifference curve. Now this is very important. In fact, I would say this is the most important topic. Okay. So the first property of indifference curve is that indifference curve is always convex to the origin. Indifference curve is always convex to the origin. So what is convex? This, okay, downward sloping line. Okay, it is convex to the origin. What is concave? Concavity is like this. Okay, right? But indifference curve is always convex to the origin. Why? Because of diminishing MRS. As the MRS is diminishing, right, it is convex to the origin, and MRS diminishes because of law of diminishing marginal utility. Now, indifference curve slopes downward. As I've already said many times, that whenever there is inverse relationship, the curve always slopes downwards. So there is an inverse relationship between apple and banana, right? So as there is inverse relationship, why there is inverse relationship? Because to increase the unit of apple, you have to substitute unit of banana. So there is an inverse relationship. To increase one, you have to reduce another. So that is the reason why indifference curve slopes downwards, because of the inverse relationship. Then higher indifference curve represents higher level of satisfaction. So it's as simple as that. As the indifference curve is higher, it represents more level of satisfaction. Lower the indifference curve, lower the level of satisfaction. Okay, like for example, if indifference curve IC1 and IC2 and IC3, three indifference curves are there. So IC2 will have more satisfaction, and IC1 will have less. IC3 will have less amount of satisfaction than IC1, but IC2 will have more satisfaction than IC1. So higher the indifference curve, higher will be the level of satisfaction. And lastly, indifference curve can never intersect with each other. Please be mindful at this stage. Two indifference curves will never intersect each other. Why? So often at times students do not understand or make mistake in this point, or many of the time students do not even attempt this. It's so simple. Indifference curve can never intersect each other, because let's say these are the two indifference curves, IC1 and IC2. Blue one is the IC1, black one is the IC2. If this intersects, then that means at this point both the indifference curves are giving same level of satisfaction. If that is so, if we were to believe that, then A and B will also have the same level of satisfaction, because this is in the same indifference curve. In the same way, A and C also would be giving same level of satisfaction. But no, it doesn't give, because C is at higher level than B. It is not possible. So the very essence of indifference curve, the very principle of indifference curve is nullified. So that is the reason why two indifference curves do not intersect each other. So these are the four basic properties of indifference curve, which is very important. In the next part, we will be doing budget line. It's another concept that will lead us to the last topic of the chapter, that is consumer equilibrium through indifference curve approach. But before that, we have to understand as to what budget line is. So both this indifference curve and budget line are very important in order to attain equilibrium, consumer's equilibrium, through indifference curve or ordinal utility approach. Stay tuned, we'll have those covered in the next episode. Thank you.